Right, I thought I'd do a little video on the debunk of the Game Changers thing on Joe Rogan with Kresser and James Wilks. Now, I normally don't do videos like this. I don't get into science too much because there are people far better than me at it, and I don't get into slamming vegan YouTube channels and things like that because there's other people who are much funnier and much better at it than me. But this time I have to say something because I might have a slightly different view on it from the guys who are debunking the actual science of it, like or the pseudoscience of it, like Sean. He did a video yesterday, 2 videos on it actually, so go and have a look at those if you're convinced by some of the stuff that James Wilks said. For me, it's a kind of an n=1 perspective that I'd like to put out here. But first of all, I'd just like to say how unbelievably disturbing it was to have to get through all of that. I mean, it sounds a bit wimpy, but I'm a little bit embarrassed for my countryman James Wilks, because he was bullying, he was rude, he was aggressive. He was just afflicted with so much scientism, this awful modern disease and religion of scientism, where everything has to come down to science. Even if it's wrong, it has to be a study. Where are the studies? Where are the studies? When I say that, I'm developing some kind of a phobia, I think, of where are the studies? Where are the studies? I heard it so many times. I had so many run-ins with vegans. So many. It's always the same. It's always the studies, the studies. Now, what I was thinking, what a lot of people are probably thinking, was it's like watching one of those films where somebody's on the floor and their nose is bleeding, everything's swimming, and you're going, get up, hit him, and the guy's not defending himself. And this was kind of how it felt with Chris Kresser. But he's kind of a gentle guy, Chris Kresser. I've got respect for him. I've learned a lot from him. I think, they're both plant-based, basically, and they were both looking at plant-based studies. So that's not really where I'm coming from. But I can sympathize with Chris Kresser, because you kept thinking, why doesn't he say this? Why doesn't he say that? Actually, when you're in a room with a vegan going at you like that, with that torrent of scientism, and like drinking out of a fire hose of aggression and scientism, it's very difficult to collect your thoughts. It's a very much of an energy vampire situation. I did a talk in Liverpool. We're debating a vegan. I was hoping it was going to be a peaceful affair. Of course it wasn't. There was 40 odd people in the audience, 30 maybe, only about 6 vegans, and all of those were the ones who got aggressive. Everybody else was good as gold, and the guy was debating, of course. And it was the same thing as this guy did to Kresser, picking a subject and staying on the rail, staying on that tunnel thinking, and not looking outside of this tiny little point, and then finding one little thing that Kresser didn't know, or one little thing that he was wrong on, is pretty much irrelevant in the big picture. Vegans never look at the big picture. Now, there was so much minutiae discussed, whether it was this percentage or that percentage, or who was funded by who, or just tiny little things like how much protein in one particular scoop of peanut butter that was in a fucking peanut butter sandwich that nobody should be eating on any diet anyway. It's revolting stuff. And on whole wheat bread, come on guys, no one eats that anymore, surely, not even vegans, do they? Junk food vegans maybe, but not ones who do it properly. Even they've figured out that the grains are not that great. But the thing is, all of this mire, this morass of studies, this is the thing I'd like to say about it. What about the carnivores? Nothing's going wrong with them. This is the big elephant in the room. If everything is so bad about meat and fat, why are people reversing everything on meat and fat that meat and fat's supposed to cause? Nobody's getting sick. I'm not interested in which diet is the ultimate human diet. I'm really not. I don't think there is one. I think it depends on light, it depends on latitude, it depends on season. And not eating the plants that are in the shops that don't exist in the wild. Cauliflower, broccoli, all that crap, kale, ugh. all of that sort of crap, which there's a lot of problems with. They didn't even exist before we got these illnesses. And all the sweet fruit and stuff like that. This is the stuff we're supposed to be eating for fibre to stay regular, which carnivores are fine with. They are not constipated. Look, in carnivory, you get the odd little, teething problem as you're adapting. But after that, people are fine. They're great. Good as gold. They're curing all of the things. Look at what I had. I went vegan to try and get rid of 30 years of vegetarianism, which had left me with rosacea, psoriasis, eczema, fatty liver, cysts on the liver, kidney stones, IBS, psoriatic arthritis that was absolutely agonizing, brain fog, depression, all of this sort of thing, which is all reversed on carnivore, and we see it over and over and over again. Now, the vegans, when they're faced with this, they just go, oh, you're lying. They actually say you're lying. They've said to me, I'm lying that I've ever seen anybody in a vegan ever have any health problems. They're saying I'm lying that I eat only meat. If I'm still healthy, I must be eating other stuff. I must be cheating. Actually, the only thing I cheat with is red wine, so that's surely will make me worse. So I'm living off meat and red wine. What's going to happen there? Probably be a lot better off without the red wine. But hey, it's my only vice. My liver results are a hell of a lot better than most of my life when I was teetotal. So, what is going on with this? Please, bring a carnivore on, Joe Rogan. We would all be dying if there was anything in these studies that was right about meat and fat. We would be getting arterial calcifications. We'd be getting heart disease. We'd be dying of scurvy. What was that? Brian Rose, was it, on London Real the other week with Gregor, and he was on there going, yeah, all that stuff, and going, you're going to get scurvy on a carnivore diet. Scurvy on a carnivore diet, nobody's getting it. How dim can they be? Sure, maybe this Game Changers film would actually start to blow things up, because people who are really knowledgeable. So anyway, I'm waffling now, but look at what's happening with the carnivores. Get a carnivore on. Get somebody who really knows the science, like Paul Saladino, if you've got to go into the science. But in the meantime, look at all the evidence. Look at all the evidence. Like Sean says, the plural of anecdotes is data. And this is what we've got. We've got too many useless anecdotes now for them not to mean a hell of a lot. They're now outnumbering these old studies. Stop shouting for the studies. Just wake up. What these vegans need is to become sick. I don't mean that as a wish that they become sick. I don't want anybody to become sick. My only interest is seeing people thrive, and they're not on a vegan diet. I've been eating meat for 5 years, and in that time I've seen people go vegan, start up a YouTube channel, stop being vegan, start shouting about how bad veganism is, and then get attacked by the other vegans within that space of time. And I'm still eating meat, I haven't eaten plant, I'm fine, and so are so many other people. What the vegans need is to get sick before they see it, and then they try their fucking plant-based dogma and see if it works, and it generally doesn't. They end up going carnivore, and then they're going, oh my god, I loved the science, but I feel like the bottom's fallen out of my world because the science wasn't working for me. It didn't work for me. It's not working for thousands of others. It's not just me now. I can be confident speaking like this, backed up by thousands, tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people now who are actually seeing this, at least on keto diets, and even better on carnivore. So, what I say is, get Paul Saladino on, Joe Rogan, put him up against Dr. Gregor. That'll be hilarious. I think that will really show what's going on. None of us are saying in the carnivore world that the carnivore diet is the ultimate thing. It's probably the ultimate reset, the ultimate elimination. You can stay on safely. We don't seem to be having any issues with any deficiencies. Perhaps these plant-based foods, these berries, tubers, things like that, maybe they have some great circadian signaling. Maybe they do have some kind of use. But a lot of people are too broken to eat these things. And what's so beautiful about the carnivore diet is there's no confounders, and that's what's going to show that there's nothing wrong with this meat and fat business. So, I say the only people who are really shouting about the carnivore diet, shouting about out against it, saying how dangerous it is people who have never tried it. We all came to it as a last resort. We tried everything else. I've worked with people most of my life, written books on it, all diet, whatever. I've never seen anything work as well as the carnivore diet. So bring that into the discussion. You've got to bring that into the discussion because it casts so much doubt on all these studies. You'll never win any sort of an argument by throwing studies at each other. It's just one side's going to believe one thing. If you put Paul Saladino up against Gregor, the vegan's still going to believe Gregor because both of them have so much more knowledge than your average teenage girl who's going to go vegan. So it's going to be great to see for people like us because we know that Paul Saladino would wipe the floor with him. But a lot of people won't realise that, particularly with the emotional thing about, Bambi getting killed and whatever. So anyway, if you haven't tried carnivory, stop going on about it, how dangerous it is. There's nothing wrong with us. We're all thriving against all odds and against all the information in the studies. So don't be a cockwomble. Go 100% carnivore for a bit. See what happens. What have you got to lose? T-shirts available from pureactivity.net.